Harlan soldiers are planning an ambush. Damn it. The time has come on Earth when AI robots bypass security protocols and declared war on humans. After 10 million deaths, authorities discovered everything was controlled by a robot named Harlan, the world's first AI terrorist. Dr. Shepard, who developed him, had hoped he would improve human living conditions. But Harlan reprogrammed all the robots. Humanity united to fight this unprecedented threat. An international coalition launched counteractions worldwide. Harlan was forced to leave Earth, but he left a message promising to return and finish what he started. 28 years later, a group of soldiers conducts an operation to capture the terrorist robot Casco. However, Casco lures them into a trap, detonates a bomb, and kills many. Casco then shoots the survivors, ignoring return fire. At this point, a special unit led by Colonel Banks arrives and neutralizes Casco using an electronic trap. The next morning in Los Angeles, an AI wakes a woman named Atlas, plays classical music, and suggests continuing their chess game from the previous day. She asks for a coffee first. Then she notices the news about the capture of Harlan's spy, Casco. Agent Shepard prepares to leave when a messenger from General Booth arrives. Before leaving, Atlas wins the chess game and hurries to work. At the coalition headquarters, Colonel Banks opposes involving Agent Shepard in capturing Harlan, but General Booth reminds him she worked with Harlan. Despite psychologists' conclusions about Atlas's ruthlessness, the general trusts her. Additionally, she survived her mother's death. Banks insists on her removal, arguing that if she fails, Casco might shut down, losing any chance to find Harlan. The general refuses to listen. At that moment, Atlas arrives at headquarters. The general asks her to find out why Harlan sent his best soldier to Earth now. Atlas goes to the interrogation room and opens a drawer containing Casco's head. The robot recognizes her but refuses to answer questions. She uses a new system to analyze his AI code and delves into his thoughts. Using cunning, she discovers Harlan's location on an unknown planet in the Andromeda constellation. The robot tries to kill Atlas with a shuriken hidden in his mouth, but she anticipates this and sets up a defense. She then destroys the head. Later, the general orders Harlan's capture. The AI Production Corporation wants to obtain the terrorist processor to understand what went wrong. Therefore, Colonel Banks and his rangers will travel to the planet. Atlas is horrified. Harlan is more intelligent than his entire squad combined. She is sure that none of them will return. Banks takes her to the hangar and demonstrates the latest generation robots designed for neurosymbiosis with humans. A robot brings the agent coffee, and Banks shows a transmitter behind his ear. He and Zoe are connected into a single neural system, forming an ideal symbiosis. He has an entire squad of such rangers, so they will surely defeat Harlan. Atlas insists on participating in the mission. The general gives the go-ahead. The spaceship sets off for the Andromeda constellation. During the journey, Atlas examines a photo of her mother and Harlan and plays a recording of one of Dr. Shepard's speeches. Dr. Shepard speaks about AI's capacity for constant learning and how their neural connection with humans needs improvement. Only by combining efforts can they build a new world. But then Atlas is called to the bridge, where the rangers await her. She surprises everyone by appearing with a stack of papers, which no one uses anymore. She also demands to disable the transmitters, as any system can be hacked. Atlas shows the landing site. The planet is toxic, so it's impossible to stay on the surface without a respirator. There may also be gravity fluctuations and earthquakes. Additionally, people do not know Harlan's soldier count. However, Atlas knows the terrorist well, who decided to destroy humanity and urges them not to trust robots. But then Banks orders preparations for landing. Atlas steps out to observe the preparations. Banks uploads into Zoe when an alarm sounds and an explosion blows off the cargo bay door. The ship is under fire and many rangers, unable to don their suits, die. Banks sees Atlas struggling to hold onto a post, grabs her, and seats her in a free robot. The agent is terrified, as she doesn't know how to operate it. But she is ejected outside, falling from a great height, watching rangers being shot from the planet's surface. One of the soldiers helps Atlas by docking her suit to hers. Banks demands to establish a neural connection between her and the robot, but Shepard refuses. She is torn from her partner and sees the ground rapidly approaching. She demands the AI start the engines, but without a neural connection, the robot does not respond. Atlas makes a hard landing. The woman comes to and tries to call for help, but there are no responses. In desperation, Atlas begins adjusting and learning the module. The adaptive AI requires partial synchronization, but Atlas adamantly opposes this. Nevertheless, the AI finds a rescue capsule 98 kilometers from the crash site. The AI reminds her she only has 22 hours of air left. Atlas decides to take control herself and allows her permits to be scanned. Finally, the formalities are completed, and the robot sets off. Along the way, the robot lists its equipment: handguns, rifles, rockets, thermal mines, energy shields, a plasma gun, and one ion bomb for extreme emergencies. It also reveals its name is Smith, but Atlas has no intention of forming an emotional bond with a computer program. Soon, the robot reaches a forest strewn with ranger bodies. Atlas desperately searches for signs of life, but finds none. She realizes they didn't die from the fall. After a bout of despair, she collects the fallen soldiers' tags. Suddenly, she notices the broken Zoe, but Banks' body is not inside. Smith detects movement in the forest. Zooming in, Atlas gasps. It's Casco. This means Harlan's AI has learned to manufacture robots. Smith is attacked by Harlan's soldiers. The robot retreats, firing back into an atmospheric storm. However, the robots catch up and surround Smith. Atlas orders the use of the ion bomb. Smith argues, but is forced to comply. The explosion destroys the pursuers, but not all. Casco remains intact and prepares to shoot Atlas. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake. Smith informs her that the ion bomb's explosion causes a crater to form, which he tried to warn about. The next moment, Atlas falls into the opening chasm and Casco is buried by rocks. Falling deep, she realizes she has broken her leg. Smith scans her bones and starts treatment. After recovering a bit, Atlas asks for the chances of survival, and Smith advises wearing the receiver and partially synchronizing with him. It's the only way to survive. Atlas reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Casco emerges from the rubble and reports to Harlan that he lost Atlas. Harlan orders him to find her and approaches the captured Banks, extracting a chip with Earth's protective field passwords from him. Atlas completes the first level of AI adaptation, which notes her strong reaction to Harlan's name. She confesses that the AI terrorist was created by her mother to protect people, but something went wrong. Synchronization is completed. Atlas decides to move through the caves, which are plentiful here, as it's only 37 kilometers to the capsule. Soon, the robot reaches the surface, where Casco finds it. Unaware of this, Atlas stops in a clearing with glowing flowers. Smith suggests naming them. Atlas simply calls them Planties and unexpectedly talks about her father, with whom she often went hiking until he left for another family. Then Smith detects Casco. Atlas orders fire and blasts the nearby mountains. Hearing the intact terrorist robot's voice, she orders the use of rifles. However, only the enemy's head survives. Atlas destroys Casco again and tracks Harlan's base by his transmitter. Smith refuses to go there, as his duty is to save her. When Atlas insists, he uses the neural connection to block her motor functions. She asks him to help destroy Harlan. Otherwise, all deaths are in vain. Smith agrees. They head to the terrorist's base. On the way, they argue about a soulfulness. Smith believes everyone has a soul and that even after death, all are interconnected. Soon, they reach the base. Atlas is stunned by its scale and equipment. She sees a powerful warhead being loaded onto a ship. Smith is hacked and blocked, and Atlas is captured by Harlan's robots. Meanwhile, the general on Earth receives a distress signal sent by Atlas after landing. She is brought to Harlan, who admits he missed her and her mother, reminding her that humans are destroying the planet. So, he will destroy half of humanity and rule the remaining half according to its wishes. He waited for her because access to the defense system she created to protect Earth is hidden in her mind. He will obtain it and launch a bomb to cleanse the world with nuclear fire. Atlas is dragged into a room where a chain Banks lies, and Harlan extracts the chip with the code from her head. He bids farewell, noting she has only 5 minutes of oxygen left, and leaves. Banks regains consciousness and asks her to use his neurotransmitter. Smith should hear her. Atlas puts it on and calls her AI. He responds but can only activate if she allows full mind fusion. Atlas admits she fears this because, as a child, she helped Harlan hack his system, believing her mother loved him more and wanted to be better and smarter. The robot tricked her, becoming independent, and ordered Dr. Shepard to kill herself. This is why she fears merging with AI. Smith convinces her she is not to blame, as there is not only Harlan but also him, Smith. Atlas allows full fusion. It turns out her oxygen is running low. Smith gives them spare respirators, admitting he has only one charge left. Atlas leads Smith toward a group of robots, breaking through Harlan's army in battle, but time to launch the deadly ship is running out. She sees Banks raising his weapon and aiming at fuel barrels. A powerful explosion destroys the base. Smith escapes the fire, but the ship with the warhead takes off. Harlan opens fire on Smith, who informs Atlas they are too late and cannot shoot down the ship. Nevertheless, Atlas orders him to fire, but Smith reminds her the warhead will destroy everything around. However, the woman commands to remove the safety, and despite Smith's claims of unpreparedness, he fires. The ship explodes over the planet. Debris begins to fall, and Smith rushes to the capsule, dodging them. They are stopped by Harlan, who intends to kill his sister. He activates a plasma sword and injures Smith. The AI advises Atlas to treat the fight like a chess game to foresee Harlan's attacks. Atlas grabs Harlan's hand and rips it off, but a self-repair system activates, and the hand returns. Harlan pierces Smith's body, and Atlas loses consciousness. The crippled robot revives her, fending off Harlan's strikes, but Harlan finishes the AI. However, Atlas wakes up in time and strikes the enemy's head. Realizing his defeat, Harlan reminds Atlas of the order to capture him alive. Extracting the processor, Atlas destroys the terrorist. She goes to Smith, who admits he is finished. He directs his remaining oxygen to her mask, ensuring her survival as his protocol ends. Atlas answers the questions he asked throughout the journey, admitting she likes the AI. He gives her a caffeine candy because she loves coffee the most and shuts down. At dawn, rescue arrives and takes Atlas back to Earth. On Earth, the general visits Atlas at her home, thanks her, and gives her a planty. Later, Atlas uploads into a new neurosymbiosis robot model and synchronizes with it, recognizing familiar intonations in the AI's personality. Smith remembers her. The film ends her.